Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk about Dr. David Hawkins' emotional scale, and kind of trying to identify ways or which emotions that negative emotions are our baseline to, that kind of impact us in unconscious ways to block us from living the life that we desire to live, from living our dream life, having our dream relationships, having our dream career, having the dream manifestations. Like, what subconsciously blocks us? Because our emotions get stored in our DNA in our body, and so often we don't even realize it. And so if we can go through and look and things hit us, we know that we can go back to that baseline, that if we're feeling something, you feel that tingle in your gut, or whatever, your nose starts itching, your back starts it, whatever, then you know where you can go to see at that moment what's blocking you, and how to move forward. So I pulled one oracle card. I'm gonna try to pull just one. I say try because sometimes cards pop out. More than one. And so I was pulling from the what is it, talisman, which is awesome. I just pulled out two cards, and they flipped out: mindfulness and willpower. And so I'm going to keep both of them because those seem to go with what we're talking about. And we'll read those maybe in a minute. Or actually, maybe we'll just read them now, okay? We'll just kind of roll with the flow. So we got mindfulness, and we have willpower. So let's look in the book and see what these say. Fortunately, the Talisman Oracle isn't super long in their writing, so that's good. Let's see. Mindfulness. All right, so for mindfulness, it says, there is a lot of beauty in the stillness of the mind, allowing ourselves to be present in the moment and not worry about how things could have been or what we could have done better, can open up our minds to treasures of what we have to be thankful for. With great patience and perseverance, we can accomplish vision and check what attitudes will help you along the way. Forming a new healthy habit doesn't come easy, but you can prevail with a strong will and determination. This card can also symbolize finding your calling and purpose in life. Wow, that's pretty awesome, huh? And then willpower. All right. So willpower. It is time to channel your willpower through fierce dedication. You have set your objectives, and by applying discipline, commitment, and courage, you will achieve your goals. At times, your target may seem too far away, or people might try to convince you to adjust your expectations, but you alone know the power that you hold within. Stay confident in your abilities and focus on the next step in front of you. The dominant presence of the bull is helping you through the tests of your strength and resilience. Victory is within reach. So that's pretty awesome. Both of those are pretty awesome. So we'll see how they relate to the message that the divine gave me. So having willpower, direction, dedication, courage, right? Knowing where we're going, what we want to do, and then the mindfulness is the stillness of the mind, right? Being present, being aware of what's going on within us, what's going on around us, and being patient and perseverant with ourselves, but being aware, right? And so I think those go great with this, with being aware of what's going on with us, and you know, having courage and direction and perspective. So Dr. David R. Hawkins has an emotional scale, and I'm not going to go through all of it. I'm going to probably go through most of the ones that are negative, the emotions that hold us back, the emotions that limit us, the emotions that are lower vibe, you know, and sometimes the ones that sometimes can seem a bit silent. We're not even aware of feeling them. You know, and so many of these things are taught to us through greater society, through religion and dogma, doctrine, through media and what we consume in the media, even how we've been parented, you know, or the types of schools that we've gone to, and the perspective of authority that's been instilled upon us. But as we identify these personal root, somewhat negative energies that we have and emotions and perspectives, we can see the chains, and we are empowered to let go and to unlock the chains that hold us back. Okay, so we're going to start with shame. Shame is the lowest emotion on his scale, and it is a level of 20. And so basically he has it where anything under 200 is considered negative, and it holds us back, and it's limiting, and it's obviously not positive because it's negative. So shame and all these negative emotions weaken us. They don't give us strength. They don't help us, but they deter from us. And so shame is used all over the place, but shame is weakens us. You know, when we have shame in ourselves, shame in others, we can be shamed from our parents. We can be shamed from what other people have done to us. And the negative emotion that shame brings with it is humiliation. And the thing about humiliation is that it gets internalized. Shame and humiliation are very internalized emotions, because they're things that most often we won't talk about. We don't talk about them as a society. We don't talk about them as an individual. And so often things that we have shame about usually are things that other people should feel shamed about, because most often it's things that other people subjected us to. But when we feel a lot of shame, we feel despised and rejected by God. It creates a barrier, like a very thick wall between us and God. We don't feel like God, the divine, I will just say God because, you know, but the divine, I might go back and forth. Anyway, we feel that disconnection. We feel that there is a thick barrier between us and connecting to the divine, connecting to our higher power. And we live in a state of feeling unworthy. And a lot of times what comes with shame is depression, because you don't feel worthy. It's hard to connect with people fully. It's hard to really feel loved. It's hard to really feel appreciated. It's hard to really feel connected with other people, because that shame is like a cloud, a balloon that just wraps around us, a dungeon even. And so it causes us to feel that at the core of us, something is wrong with us, whether we were born with that something wrong with us, you know, as told to us by other people, or whether something became wrong with us because of situations we were in and things that were done to us. And a lot of times, you know, like one way religious dogma can impact this is with people's sexuality. You know, people feeling self-hatred because they cannot, because of what they believe, they cannot express who they really are, you know. And sometimes it's in careers that we desire, or things you want to study, but it's just a limitation of who you are, and not being able to connect in an authentic way with your truest self, or something that blocks you and has damaged who you see as your truest self. And then the next one that starts at the scale of 30 is guilt. And again, guilt, a lot of times we can feel other people's guilt. We can take other people's guilt upon us. But when we feel guilt, we can feel guilt for what we've done. We can feel guilt for what others have done to us. But we feel like we don't measure up to expectations, to others' expectations of us, or even to our own. But usually guilt is something that's imposed from somewhere else upon us. And we may grow up in circumstances where we are needed to take responsibility beyond where we are developmentally. So like say I was talking to a client the other day, and he really great young guy, and he was talking about how he has helped take care of his younger sisters, and he's about to go to college this coming year. He's graduating this year. And the guilt that he was feeling in leaving his family behind, because when his youngest sister was born, she was born with a lot of health issues, very severe health issue, heart problems. And so he, because his parents were not super available because of that situation, he has, I don't remember how old he was, maybe 10 or somewhere around there. He took a lot of responsibility, maybe he was 12, with his younger sister, with his middle sister. So he, cooked for her. He was there as a parent for her. And so now he's about to go off to college, and his mom is having some severe health problems, and so he feels the guilt of going away and pursuing his life, because he feels the need at home, and he is concerned with their emotional state, with how they're going to make it without him. And and I'm not in any way projecting blame on anybody. Sometimes situations we're in just suck, but with that, the guilt does come because we are expected, or are just in a life situation where we have to take on what really isn't meant for us. And what happens is that we become most often self-sacrificing. We self-sacrifice our career, we self-sacrifice our desires, our wants, our identity. We self-sacrifice our dreams. We end up limiting ourselves because of the needs around us, and we become caretakers in many ways. And for a lot of women, it's changing, I think, in the way that we have raised consecutive generations. I know I brought my daughters up differently, but generally, women share the brunt, the weight of caretaking and taking on these responsibilities. And so often they limit us, guilt limits us to becoming who we fully could be, or just really taking an opportunity and an advantage, and to explore. It limits us in like major ways, and practical ways. And sometimes guilt can make us think that life is mostly bad, like there's so much bad that's happening, especially when guilt is caused by negative events that have happened to us, and we take that guilt and we can't talk to anybody about it. Then we have a perspective that there is a lot of evil in the world. The next one is 50. It ranges 50 And well, guilt was 30 to 50. Despair, which leads to apathy, and this is 50 to 75. And this is basically a hopelessness. Despair is a hopelessness. We feel condemned. It leads to apathy, not caring. There's no need to care about others because the consequences are already set. You know, we're already doomed. We're already going to hell. It's already set there. We can't change it, so why should we do anything? This is kind of an apathetic perspective. And there's also kind of a pseudo spiritual high vibe level of apathy. In the same way, it's like, well, take care of yourself, don't get involved with others, don't take responsibility for changing the world. People need to go through their own stuff. You know, just worry about you and enlightening your own life. And you know, kind of a real hands-off of and I'm not saying take the weight of the world, but a hands-off of empathy and caring for the world. But you know, despair and apathy can make us have this perspective where we lack compassion for others, and we think that other people need to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps. And you know, and it leads to a hopelessness, you know, that things aren't going to change. Well, things aren't going to change because look at those people that, you know, aren't healing themselves and aren't doing this or that. And so there's just a basic feeling of hopelessness for the world. And when we feel that, it limits the amount of change that we can expect and project and hope for. You know, and I know many of us are beyond these, but sometimes these types of emotions, these level of emotions, again, may have been things that we experienced for a long time growing up, you know, or had some pivotal moments in our life where these emotions were really attached to those situations. And so from time to time, if we don't check ourselves, we can find that that's really an area that is holding us back and limiting us. The next emotion on the scale up starts at 75, from like 75 to 100, and it's regret. And with regret, we tend to feel like God has disdain towards us, towards ourselves. You know, like regret is like always just feeling bad about, like, oh, I wish I had done this, I wish I had done that, I should have done this, I should have done that, I wish that this had happened, I wish that had happened. And there's just a tragedy, a tragic feeling towards life, that there's always that weight, that something always is about to happen, that we're powerless to change the situations, you know, and we're unable to forgive ourselves, really, when we live in regret. There's a lack of forgiveness for self. And when we are chained down by a lack of forgiveness, it is a heavy weight, and it is like a dark cloud that follows us throughout life, and it limits just the beauty of the good things that we do have in our lives. We can't fully see them. It's like looking at life, walking around you know, with a blindfold on. Like, you can see through it, you know, like with cloth that you can see through, but you can't fully see everything. You can see enough to know what things are and not bump into stuff, but you can't really see the beauty of stuff. That's what regret does to it. It just kind of shades and colors us in a dark way that limits the beauty of life. And then the next one up is fear, and that's at 100 to 125. And with fear, you know, there's a feeling that God is always punishing us, that God is always going to punish us, that he is harsh, that he's unloving. And there is just a constant anxiety that comes in. And quite often, you know, people who live in fear are constantly looking for discipline and looking for consequences to that are going to fall upon them, or thinking that the bottom is always going to fall out. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Wait, the bottom's going to fall out. You know, let me brace myself for something bad to happen. And so often with that, we tend to self-sabotage, you know, because we think like, okay, wow, this is good. This can't possibly make it all the way. Like my business can't possibly, you know, make $1 million, or you know, I can't possibly get this off the ground, or you know, that something is just always going to come and block the results. And when we live in fear, we're expecting severe reactions and results. We're expecting people to not follow through on their plans, not follow through, and to constantly let us down. And again, I think the biggest way we see this is that eventually, even if we get to a point where we start believing other people, you know, things are gonna go well, we still tend to self-sabotage ourselves. You know, and so I just want to do a side note with this for those of us who have children, to make sure that we're not raising our children extremely strict. You know, if we were raised extremely strict, be gracious with our children. Don't be too strict. Don't put too much weight on them that is beyond expectations of their growth, you know, of what they can handle and where they are maturity wise. Because so often this can develop self-righteousness, where we lack compassion for ourselves, for others, and where we dehumanize others. And we see this a lot in society, where people lack so much compassion. You know, people don't want to have their taxes go to help someone who's down and out, or you know, like to people aren't helping their neighbors, or you know, there's just a lot of ways that that this anxiety and this fear and this judgment, when we feel it inside, we project it outside to other people, or most people do. And it can be seen very well in a lack of societal responsibility and concern, a lack of love and compassion for our neighbor. You know, and a big thing, this is I think a really major way that that media, that the matrix and society and media controls a large part of society, is through fear, and having people scared, and people feeling condemned, and you know, and just the hatred that comes with that for your fellow man. And so people are afraid of the world. They're afraid of other people. They're afraid of other races. They're afraid of new experiences. They're afraid of change. They're afraid to travel. You know, I've got coworkers that talk like all day long to clients about fear, the stuff that they're afraid of, you know, and typically I've gotten really good with letting it roll off and not letting it bug me. You know, and I wear my earbud and I'll listen to stuff when I don't have my own clients. But you know, like fear is a major problem in society, and it has a lot of negative repercussions. And so I know for me, you know, I don't necessarily have a lot of fear in society. I don't fear walking down the street. I don't fear traveling. I've had a lot of experiences, you know, so I don't fear that stuff. But I used to have a really strong fear of being judged by God. Like, for a little while, I lived with a relative who was just very religious and self-righteous, and very unforgiving, and just had to, just some crazy standards. And so I felt that, oh my God, this person almost ran into me, and they're still really, really close to my car. But anyway, I had this relative that was just so extreme, and so I felt judged by God so often. I felt like, gosh, like it was going to be impossible to go to heaven, you know, like even at times, like, wow, my gosh, like, am I even really lovable? And so mine was more focused inward, and so I can tend to self-sabotage if I don't watch myself and I'm not aware of it. If I start feeling, got to be aware of feeling anxiety with stuff, and like where it's coming from, and dealing with it so that I can clear it out and move on with hope, with faith, with great expectation. But let's go on to the next one. So desire is the next one. It's 125 to 150. And we think, like, desire, what's wrong with desire? Like, why would desire be a negative emotion? Well, the thing about desire is that desire is like basically another word for lack, for the acting out of lack, the emotion, the craving, because we crave because we don't have, because we're hungry, right? And so, like, when we have all these desires, life seems to be disappointing, right? Because well, they finally backed up. That was really weird. Anyway, so, you know, we can tend to feel that life is disappointing when we have all these desires, when we feel like other people have what we want, other people have what we have, not what we have, but what we desire to have, what we should have. When we want what other people have, and we think that it shouldn't be theirs, it should be ours. And this is like really big in society right now, you know, excuse me, especially in politics. They're constantly telling one side, you should have what the other side has, you know, like, all those people are going to steal stuff for you, that you should be afraid, you should be fearful, you should, you know. But that, I know the fear was the last one, but that desire, that hunger, that lack, you know, and the seeing that we have lack, because other people are taking, versus really seeing that we live in a world, in a universe that is abundant. There is so much. There's no lack. There's like no lack of anything. Probably one of the few lacks we have is a lack of compassion, and that comes from a misunderstanding of thinking that there's not enough of whatever it is, you know. And so when we are living like in that desire, you know, a lot of times it causes us to lack self-control, to overeat, to have addictions, because we can't get enough, because we think maybe there's not going to be enough. And so people hoard and they take more than they need. Like, oh my gosh, let a storm come, and I tell you what, all the milk is gone, all the bread is gone, all the toilet paper is gone. And I don't know if that is a sign that most people are lactose intolerant and shouldn't be drinking milk, because they know, like, if they drink so much milk over this like few days of the storm, that they're just going to be sitting on the toilet the whole time. I don't even know, but toilet paper is usually absolutely gone off the shelves here. It is absolutely crazy. But anyway, so our next one to look at is hate. And hate gives us an antagonistic view. Oh, cute puppies. An aggressive perspective that life is against us, you know, that God is vengeful, God is angry, that everyone is vengeful, and we all got to look out for ourselves. and we lack mercy and we lack kindness when we live in hate. And you know what's funny is I thought of this song. I wrote it on the back here, but that I used to sing at church, and it goes, "My God is an awesome God. He reigns in power and strength." But what I heard when I was going through this was, "My God is an awful God. He reigns in terror and might." And I just laugh because sometimes that's what I would feel was preached from the pulpit, that God was like this awful, angry, vengeful, powerful God, you know. And that's what when we're fed a diet of hate and we live on that, that's how we see God. And so often people who live in hate see themselves as the arbiters of God's hate. Like, what the heck is this guy's problem? Like, why is he like right up on me again? That is crazy. Guess, can we say Yahoo? So anyway, so you know, we tend to lack kindness. Okay. So the next one is 175 to 200, and it's pride and scorn. It's when life is demanding, God is indifferent, God doesn't care, and then they also become God. They feel like they need to take the place of God because God doesn't care. God's not going to do anything. I need to do something about it. I need to make sure this stuff straightens out, you know? And they will tend to deflect just outrageous demands on other people. And they become a self-appointed judge and executioner. And interestingly enough, this kind of butts right up to like where the emotions start getting positive. And so courage is the next one. And I think why pride can come into positivity is because maybe the actions sometimes can start, you want to make change, you want change, and so you're going to start acting, but the motive isn't necessarily the best motive. But sometimes we can do things from the wrong motive and get the right results, so maybe that's what pushes it into positivity. But so we get into courage, which is 200 to 250, and that's where life becomes affirming, life is valuable, things become possible, God is permitting, God is supportive of us, and we take actions. You know, we speak up even though we may feel a little timid. We go and do things that we may be nervous about. You know, we will explore, we will take an acting class, we will try to paint, we will talk to new people, and you know, make friends with someone we normally wouldn't. Like we become more explorers of life when we have courage. We're not hiding in fear and hatred and then those negative feelings. So it kind of propels us off to positive interactions and positive experiences in our life. And so then, because we are experiencing more positivity, we're able to trust, which is the next one up, which is 250. And you know, he talks about how life is good, life is satisfactory, life is fulfilling, it's empowering, God is empowering, God is with us, God gives us good things, the divine gives us good things. And so because the divine gives us good things, we are then able to give good things to other people, and we're not so focused on craving and lack and taking from other people, you know, or hoarding or overeating or overindulging. We're able to give, we're able to, there's a freedom that comes with trust, and we're able to release, and we're able to expand. You know, and then 310 is willingness, and it's being optimistic and hopeful and inspiring, and God has inspired us, and so we inspire others. So those are just, things to look at, like what in which, if any, in your life are the negative core emotions, like which did you spend a bit of time in that possibly could sneak up on you again, and you're not realizing that you're working from that emotion, or that emotion is limiting you, or that you've picked up the chains of that emotion again and latch them onto yourself. I mean, it's always good to do just an internal checkup every once in a while. And so again, I will read the mindfulness. It says there's a lot of beauty in the stillness of the mind, allowing ourselves to be present in the moment and not worry about how things could have been or what we could have done better, can open up our minds to the treasures of what we have to be thankful for. So not, dwelling on these things when you look at them and you see them, not dwelling and going, oh man, I feel so bad because I used to be such a hateful person, and then you put yourself in a downward spiral, or oh my gosh, like I remember when I used to just like hoard whatever, and pulling yourself back into that energy in a negative way. Like this is reminding us, like, to be mindful, right? We can remember things and see and assess to make sure that we're not going back into that energy, but to do it from a confidence, from stillness, from love, so that we can be grateful for how much we have changed, grateful for how much our lives have transformed, grateful for like the impact that we're having, being so much different now than what it used to be. With great patience and perseverance, we can accomplish anything. And it's best not to rush into action or judgment too quickly. Often our patience is not about how long we can wait, but what to do with our time while waiting. We can learn to be grateful for every moment of our day when we feel stuck and things don't go our way, like the praying mantis. Oh, you know what? I think I read the Bronze Backside last time. It tells us to stay mindful, and it will make all of our endeavors more fruitful and more meaningful. So part of being mindful is being aware and being in tune and being connected to what's going on inside of us, right? And then we had willpower, which I'm not going to read again because I did pull another card. Remember I said I pulled 3 oracle cards, and this one is the Violet Flame. So I know this is going a little bit long. Thank you for being with me. I hope this is inspiring you and helping you. Hit the like button, leave a comment below. Let me know how this encourages you, and subscribe. But I'm going to read real quick part of the Violet Flame. This is from the Lightworkers Oracle, and it's number 44, which is, all about strength, about being balanced and being solid, and that's kind of what we're talking about too, right? Being solid in our emotions. 44, that was 22. It's towards the back, I guess. Ooh, is it the last one? It is the last one. Wow, we saved the best for last. Okay, the Violet Flame is an expression of the 7th ray of ritual, order, and ceremony. The Violet Flame and the 7th ray are a stream of energy flowing from the creative center of the universe. This energy stimulates evolution into new forms and the balance of letting go of the past without dismissing what has held value. So I guess that's really good too with this, right? Is identifying this, and again, we are identifying this right, so we can let go of it, so it's not holding us back. That is the whole purpose of going through this and looking at these emotions, right? Of seeing like if there's anything that's reattached itself to us that we need to let go of. Wise honoring of ancient wisdom and beneficial traditions, differentiated from outmoded forms, allow the soul to work towards birthing a new world order with wisdom. This energy is radical and respectful. It is freedom and it is responsibility to the greater good of all beings. When the energy of the seventh ray infuses your soul, a new way is being birthed, bringing with it a vitalized experience of freedom, choice, and creativity. There may be an increased interest in magic, ceremony, and ritual for healing purposes. The violet flame is a spiritual manifestation of high-frequency violet light. The Archangel Zadkiel and Ascended Master Saint Germain channel this light, which transmutes energy from lower to higher frequency, functioning as a spiritual cleansing agent that liberates lower dimensional energies into more loving, open, and free expression. Is this not perfect? Let's read that again. It says, this light transmutes energy from lower frequency, these lower energies that we were just talking about, to higher frequency energies into more loving, open, and free expression. This restores joy to the heart. Your soul is transitioning between one vibrational state to a higher frequency way of being. This will entail sifting through what has value and needs to be sustained for your soul's ongoing journey and what can gracefully be released. So release this stuff gracefully and hold on to the good things. The seventh ray is very active upon the earth at this time. All of humanity is being affected by it, and those who are sensitive to spiritual energy will notice it most. The seventh ray is the push and pull between the old and new, the life that has been and can no longer continue in that form, and the life that wants to evolve from the old. This energy values the traditions and ancestral wisdoms that are essential spiritual nutrients to the soul of humanity and must be preserved for humanity's ongoing evolution. There is also an understanding that certain ways of the past will be insufficient to meet current evolutionary needs. When the seventh ray infuses your soul, you will experience a siphoning out process, determining what has value at the soul level, neither holding on too tightly out of fear, a fearful attachment and the desire to avoid grief, nor falling into the trap of affording undue honor simply because something is new and different. As the soul moves through this discernment process, you are encouraged to balance your attachment to what has been with an openness to the new, seeking to find its way into your world. It is a time to lovingly and fearlessly question what has been and honor what continues to hold value. I'll read one more paragraph. The seventh ray holds a collective view, and you will be balancing awareness of individual needs and desires with the collective needs of humanity to continue progressing spiritually. Progress is inherent to the seventh ray, and although that is a positive occurrence overall, it can generate a temporary sense of discomfort and unease as the disruption of old forms yields energy to support the new way. Whether you are feeling this in your personal life or in a collective part of your soul's work at this time, it is this time to find and radiate a state of spiritual rest within divine love. This will provide spiritual stability whilst the outer forms go through the process of transformation. So it's time to go through this with loving yourself. And this is a really long video, so I appreciate you if you've stayed with me. For those of you who don't know what the seventh ray is, the violet flame, when you meditate, maybe you pray, but when you sit in silence and you meditate and you go within yourself, I don't know if you've ever noticed that different colors, if you go deep enough, different colors will come, and you can focus on your third eye sometimes even, and a purple light will come. The violet ray is purple, and you focus on that and you allow it to come. It will come in waves, and it will fade, and it will get stronger, and it will get smaller, and it will get bigger. But if you just meditate and go within that light, it it goes through your body, and you just imagine it going through your body and healing you, healing your energy, healing your heart, healing your soul, and preparing you, strengthening you for the changes that we're all going through. So, and you can do a little research on the violet flame yourself. There are meditations. There are lots of great meditations for it online, on YouTube. And so, hopefully you'll do that. But again, thank you for being with me. If you made it all the way through, I don't know, maybe post a purple flower for me. All right. Much love. Thank you.